So good morning again, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Blue Army Shrine on this May 13th, the 105th anniversary of the first apparition of Our Lady of Fatima. Wonderful to have you here. I want to welcome all of those watching on our webcam and our broadcasts. We appreciate your participation, even if you're not close with us, but it's good to have you here. I wanted to once again announce and welcome our new chaplain here at the Shrine, Father Luke Fletcher. He and Brother Pius Gagny are our newest additions to the Shrine. They are, of course, members of the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, and you know our history with Father Groeschel and Father Andrew Apostoli, and our long history with the CFRs, and we're so blessed to have them here at the Shrine. You see we have our new pavilion across there, which is, in case it rains, there's a place to sit. And you'll also notice that that pavilion has been dedicated to the late Father Andrew Apostoli, who was such a good friend of this organization. Here, every time, four times every year he was here. And he never, even the year he passed away in 2017, he was here exactly 2 months before his death. And so we do remember him and remember the CFRs, and so happy to carry on that tradition with them here. Just a couple quick announcements I made earlier, but I'd like to do again. I'm asking people to, especially on this day, request from the USCCB to make a day of fasting. I know it's halfway through the day already, but a day of prayer and fasting for life. This is the battle that we're fighting, and you can see in this recent time with this leaked document, this talk about the possibility of overturning Roe versus Wade, how the vitriol is out there right now in such a way. We have to pray for hearts. And I do point again to the beautiful shrine we have of Our Lady, Mother of Life within at the top. If you haven't already, please make a visit up there today and say an extra prayer for this cause. Because this is as Bishop Strickland said in a talk I heard recently, he said, this is the hill to die on. We have to. If we don't protect life, we protect nothing else. So I also want to remind you of some of the things here at the Shrine. Downstairs, of course, is our gift shop for those of you who haven't been here before. There are restrooms there, but there's also restrooms right in that beautiful restroom trailer out there. Very nice, clean, and a simpler way to use them over there. So I recommend primarily you use those because it gets a little tight downstairs, especially on event days like this. When in the Blessed Sacrament Chapel or even up here, remember the Blessed Sacrament is present, so we ask that you maintain silence, that you silence your cell phones, and I, of course, am the worst culprit when it comes to this. I always know if I don't turn my phone off, it's going to go off at the consecration. It does every time, and so I'm as guilty as the next, but we do have to be careful. We have some volunteers at the back tables. We have some things we ask you if you're interested in signing up for. We have a weekend of Eucharistic Reparation in July, and we're looking for adorers throughout those days. You've been so responsive in the past. This will be, I believe, our 6th year that we're doing this, and we're very, very pleased to continue this tradition. So Maria in the back is taking that. Also, we are going to have a trip to Fatima in November. We're finally to the point where we can get things going. And so we really, and many people have asked about it. We'd like to have this be a very big and successful trip. So we really wanted to do it at the end of season, after October. November is a beautiful time to go to Fatima, and a little quieter and just a beautiful thing. So if you are interested, please leave your name in the back and we will inform you. I know people came last year and did the same, but we weren't able to pull it off because of so many things, you know. Now, another thing too is for those who don't know the Shrine very well, if you go down the Marian Way, you come to the Capulina, which is an exact replica of the Capulina in Fatima. And at the very end is the Holy House, Retreat Center and Chapel. And that Holy House Chapel is extremely special. That is an exact replica of the Holy House in Loreto, Italy, which is, of course, the chapel that was transported across from the Holy Land. It is actually the home of the Holy Family. And when this was built, stone from the Holy House of Loreto was crushed and put into mortar. And it was the indulgence of visiting the Holy House in Loreto, Italy extends to this chapel. So I highly recommend you make a visit there while you're here, for those particularly who haven't been here before. Now, we do have many projects Many you can see we've done in this past 2 or 3 years. You see our solar project. We've done great roof. We had to reinforce and work on a statue up here. This has been taken care of. A lot of work still to be done here. And you may have noticed in the pond, the statue of the Angel of Portugal only has one wing. So we had looks like it came down during the winter and got into the water. So has anybody here seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life? Remember the little girl, what she says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings? Well, I've been ringing bells and it ain't happening, but so what we could use are some more donations and some help. We are going to fish it out. We have people coming with a crane. We don't know if that statue could be salvaged, but we will either salvage it or replace it. So your generosity for all of these projects would be very much appreciated. We do have some posters up, and they have a QR code if you want to do it the simple way. Takes you right to our website, and you can sign up that way. But you know, we appreciate any help that you can give us. Obviously, you know, we have a short season here. You know, our big season is May through October, and of course, then it gets very cold in the winter in many ways. We're active, we keep very busy, but our crowds are tremendously subdued. And so we depend on your generosity on these days. So for this reason, we do ask you to be generous in your help here, and you have been in the past, and we couldn't do what we do without that. So thank you in advance for all of your help. Our perpetual and yearly mass associations are always a big part, and the cards are located downstairs. And then you can also get them online. But we also ask you to follow follow us on bluearmy.com and on our social media. And we just launched a new website, much more interactive, really, I think, very much going to make it very easy to follow. Sign in if you haven't signed that pledge, the pledge that that Sister Lucia worked with our founder, John Hafford, in 1947. We're celebrating now our 75th anniversary. And that was 75 years ago when Mr. Hafford sat with Sister Lucia and they worked out the Blue Army Pledge. And the pledge is basically this: say yes to Our Lady, just like the children of Fatima did. You can get the pledge back here and sign it. We'd love for you to do it. Go online. If you do, we'll keep in touch with you with all of our initiatives. A lot more of what we're doing is available online. We're doing a lot with EWTN television. We have our own social media network now. We have a studio we put in. The idea is to get the word out as far as we can. So we're making great progress. And again, it really is thanks to all of you. So I do appreciate it. You see our gift shop obviously downstairs, our tables here, and we have a great website, shopfatima.com. You can get on there, and there are many, everything you find here you can find there. And many of the books that we're promoting, as well as our goods, are all on there. I want to thank the volunteers who are here, who come here regularly and make us doable. If anybody is interested in volunteering, we ask that you leave your name back there. We're very appreciative of anybody who wants to maybe be an usher, usherette. You want to do. We always have stuff to do around here, so I guarantee we can use your help. So thank you so much. Away from here, we operate divisions around the country, and we do have activity many places. Our Pilgrim Virgin Statue program is very vibrant, and we've just finished a number of very successful tours. People are dying for the message of Fatima. We couldn't be in the churches for a better part of a year and a half, and it's just been a beautiful reception. I think that when you experience a statue visitation like being here, the heart of Our Lady really comes to you, and you understand the mission that we have. So we ask you to, there's our schedule for the year is back there. We have His Excellency Bishop Sweeney is here from the Diocese of Patterson, which is our neighboring diocese here. I'm sure many of you come from the Patterson Diocese. Very, very happy to have His Excellency here today. And we hope it's first of many visits here. We do have our Bishop James Cecchio, coming for a visit for another event in June. Next June 13th, Cardinal Burke will be here. The whole summer, the whole schedule is on there. But always look at it on the website on bluearmy.com, because things are a little bit of a floating scale, and sometimes you have cancellations and rebooks. So check on that, and you know what we've got. So the message of Fatima today, I guess that's the biggest thing we have to consider. Where are we today? What is the relevance of Fatima 105 years after the apparitions? We need to bring this into focus by investigating the path that the world has been following for all of these years, as well as the path to which we hope to redirect the world. The warnings of difficult things that could come, have to a very great degree come to fruition, but many more disturbing things have not. And the great promises are yet to come to pass. Wars and rumors of war, all said to be signs of the end times. These signs, I guess, in fact, have been around for the better part of our history. How many years of actual peace has there been in the world in all of human history? Very little, I'm afraid. Since Cain slew Abel, and violence had a foothold on this earth since then. It's just been the way it is. It's us. Watch the news. Where are we today? We do not need to look to Russia or Ukraine to see the disruption that is plaguing the world. The real war being raged today is in our hearts. And all the actions of evil stem from this. All evil starts with wrong intentions, and all good emanates from a pure heart. The Fatima message is a prescription for peace. It is a prescription for holiness. It is a blueprint for life. You're here because you believe. You're here because you know that only through prayer and sacrifice can we succeed. You're here because you want to bring about the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. This has been the mission of this apostolate now for 75 years. In 1947, we had just come off the bloodiest war in history, and we were entering the Cold War, scarier even more in many ways. The carnage of the 20th century and the early 21st century has defined us worldwide. As the pictures on the news show the devastation of war is played out most graphically now in Ukraine, we must soberly think of the numerous lives taken through abortion and euthanasia every day around the world. How many are snuffed out without any recognition or headlines? Nations could be annihilated. Our Lady said this at Fatima. And we are doing a good job of bringing this about, both by our direct actions and probably worse by our inaction. Yes, nations could be annihilated. At Fatima, Our Lady said this. In 1947, 30 years after the apparition, Sister Lucia was uncomfortable with the fact that the Fatima message was not properly being disseminated. Certainly the situation in Europe, coming off of 2 world wars, limited the ability of those who wished to promote the devotion to do so. She saw most vividly what Our Lady had warned of, that Russia would spread her errors. She also saw the possibility of the fulfillment of that statement that nations could be annihilated. The A-bomb in 1945 made this a real possibility, and it still is. But our co-founder, Monsignor Colgan, came up in his pulpit right here in New Jersey and called for a blue army of prayer to counter the red army of atheistic communism. He and Mr. Hafford embarked on a campaign to bring many souls to God during this time when it appeared that evil was winning the day. The Bolshevik Revolution in Russia had put into power perhaps the most anti-God government ever seen on earth. Worldwide domination by an atheistic monolith was their whole vision. The devil, as king of the world, would now take his place over the nations. Yeah, the Soviet Union may be gone. Today, though, the Chinese have moved into the forefront of this evil mission, as have others. Wars and rumors of war. The end times? I say no. There's too much to accomplish before God calls it an end, in my opinion. We're not going to get out this easy, quite frankly. We are alive today because we are made for this time. Battle between good and evil has always raged and is reaching a fever pitch today. Why is this? Perhaps because the time of evil is nearing an end and the time of the triumph is on the horizon. On March 25th of this year, on the great feast of the Annunciation, the Holy Father made a consecration of Russia and Ukraine, as well as all of humanity, to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. What is the fruit of this? Certainly great grace has been merited by this act, especially considering all the bishops, priests, and laity that participated. As a matter of fact, we held it here. Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio was gracious to come out on that day and do the consecration prayer right here. Bishop Cecchio had wanted to, but he had a previous commission, but he did it at the cathedral here in Metuchen. But we cannot just sit back and once again say, mission accomplished. St. Pope John Paul II made the consecration in 1984, and no one can honestly deny what occurred on the world stage afterwards, the fall of the Soviet Union and everything. But afterwards, his consecration, remember, was made 55 years after the request. If your boss gave you a directive and you waited 55 years to fulfill it, I don't think you'd be working there too long. It doesn't work like that. But yet we deny God 55 years. And it's not just the Holy Fathers, it's all of us who maybe didn't merit the grace for him to do, or the different Holy Fathers in those years to do it. The larger question is, what have we individually done to help fulfill the promises, and have we cooperated with the grace attained? A consecration brings about great grace, but then it opens a door, and then we have to walk through it. Just at Fatima, Our Lady gave us directives, things to do. Have we done it? Many did, and I think many did, and maybe that's perhaps why greater wars and other things didn't occur, but we've never really fulfilled it. The evil that's going on in this world right now, and unfortunately in this country in spades, is just appalling, and it's scary. But we have solutions. We have a solution right here, this Fatima message, which is nothing more than the teachings of the church going back to the beginning. There's nothing in the Fatima message that is not in the Gospels. The urgency, some of the warnings, things like that are the only things that are not already in the Gospels and in our teachings of the church for 2,000 years. You know, the church has a long history, and, you know, it's been pretty successful, quite frankly. You know, we are, but I think what it is, we have to turn back to the basics of what our Catholicism is. You know, the Fatima apparitions truly began with the Eucharist as the foundation, and it is the foundation of the Fatima message. You know, in 1916, it was the angel of peace who brought the Eucharist to the three children a year before Our Lady appeared to them. You know, a Protestant, a mainline Protestant who I know very well, once asked me, "What do you have in your church that we don't have?" And I said, everything. You know, the sad reality, you know, we have our Lord present in the Blessed Sacrament. And do we really acknowledge that? There is a just horrible statistic that perhaps 70% of nominal Catholics don't believe that. I mean, that's appalling. I mean, it's a sad reality. But the reality is that, you know, is it any wonder why our church is suffering the difficulties that it is? And this is why we're pushing our initiative of vigils, of Eucharistic adoration throughout the country and our divisions. And here we hold an all-night vigil over First Friday, First Saturday from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. We've been doing that now for quite a while. We are promoting Eucharistic reparation all over. I just appeared on a show on EWTN where we talked about one of the books that we're re-promoting, the Night of Love, which is a book written by Mr. Hafford, our founder. We republished it and brought it up to date a little bit. But it's like an hour-by-hour direction on how to do an all-night vigil. There are churches in New York and in Chicago and a number of other places throughout this country, through us and through this organization, that have been holding all-night vigils every month. How wonderful. And maybe these are the things that are keeping the earth from tilting over. You know, what is it? It's the prayers and the devotion of people, primarily to our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament. Our Lady didn't come to be adored. She came to bring us to Christ. You know, and through the prayers, the rosary, and all that, we become closer to her. In the June apparition, Our Lady appeared as the Immaculate Heart for the first time, and she showed the pain. And our Lord, she said that, you know, our Lord wants to establish devotion to my Immaculate Heart. What does that mean? It means a devotion to Mary, to think like she thinks, to have a heart like her. This is what devotion to the Immaculate Heart is all about. You know, and this really, Jesus wishes to use you to establish in the world devotion to my Immaculate Heart, is what she said to her. This is our mission today, to bring about the triumph of the Immaculate Heart. And in the palm of the right hand of Our Lady, there was a heart surrounded by thorns that impaled it. And they understood that the Immaculate Heart, affronted by the sins of men, and then she asked for reparation. In 1925, she appeared and gave Sister Lucia the first Saturday's devotion, stating that God wishes this reparation to be made for the blasphemies against her Immaculate Heart. We have an initiative here, and we want everybody to move on as we come in off this post-consecration period here. We know that the triumph of the Immaculate Heart, to a great degree, will be brought about when enough people truly embrace the first Saturday's devotion. And this is one of the things that you promised to do when you signed the Blue Army Pledge, to pray the Rosary, to live in accord with your state of life, your chastity, to be devoted to the brown scapular, and to work towards a fulfillment of the first Saturdays. It asks for 5. If you do, you make reparation against those 5 blasphemies to Our Lady, against Our Lady. Well, we have an initiative called the Great Promise Passport going on right now. So we're going to challenge you at this one, all right? So this is patterned after when you do the Camino in Santiago de Compostela, if you want to walk for 30 days, if you could do it. But you stop certain places and you get your stamp. And then when you get there, you get your shell, if you're still alive. So this is our Great Promise Passport. For 5 months, you pray, you follow what Our Lady asked for. You go to confession, and that could be 8 days before or after. Receive Holy Communion on that first Saturday, as best you can. If there's not a Mass, you do your best anticipated Mass for the next day. You pray 5 decades of the Rosary. And I always found this to be the most important part. And then she asks, keep her company for 15 minutes while meditating on one or more of the mysteries of the Rosary. Meditate on all of them. It's a history of our salvation, from the Annunciation to the coronation. This is it. It's all in there. The Rosary was said at one time to be theology for the illiterate. I mean, it is there. You don't need to be a scholar. You don't need to be a person. And I love dealing and speaking with scholarly people because they give you such insights. But you know what? If you know the Rosary, you're a scholar in yourself, because if you understand the Rosary. So what you do is every month you do that. You sign up online, and then you'll be given the stamp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one starts in May. Well, you'll start now in June if you start doing it through the end. And then at the end, your name will be put into a basket to pull out some names for a pilgrimage to Fatima, a Pilgrim Virgin statue, or a gift certificate. So, there's a little incentive for you to do it. But do it because you love Our Lady. I think it really is. And now the big thing I want to ask you is once you finish it, don't do this, mission accomplished. No. The first Saturday devotion needs to be throughout your life. Do 5 for yourself. See, maybe I'll do one for my son or my daughter or my spouse or my friend or whoever. This is what we need. We need to be continuing on. This has to become a way of life for us. So we ask you to really take that on, because there's so many things that we want to understand what the message of Fatima is and what the mission of Fatima is even more important. When St. Pope John Paul II said in the 90s that Fatima is more relevant today than it was in 1917, he was right. In 2010, I believe it was, when Pope Benedict said, we cannot believe that Fatima's profound mission has been completed. And I contend that Fatima is more relevant today than it was when St. Pope John Paul II said that. Because look at what's occurring in the world. But it's like, what did the children do? They worked tirelessly for the salvation of souls. That's why this organization was founded. That's why you were baptized and confirmed. And those of us who were confirmed years ago, I mean, they'd send you out as a soldier. I mean, you got that whack across the cheek. Now I don't think they do that. Maybe just gently touch your cheek. I mean, there was a time that bishop would get out there and do your job, is what he would say, And I think that's really what we have to do. We are the church militant. we better be fighting with everything we have for the salvation of souls through the Catholic Church, because this is our only hope in this world. So, we we have to decide where we're going as a people. We have to decide if we will acquiesce to a world which wants to relegate our beliefs to the pages of history, and even worse, just obliterate it completely. We need to defend the rights of God, and we do that by starting by defending the rights of Our Lady. And I know just one quick comment, one quick statement by St. Pope John Paul II, which I love. And he talked about this time when, it is a great time to be alive. Everybody who's alive today is by God's design. It's not an accident, okay? You're here today because you have a mission towards this salvation. And he said, when he asked what would happen in the future church, and this is before he was even Holy Father, he said, "We must be prepared to undergo great trials in the not too distant future. Trials that require us to be ready to give up even our lives as a total gift of self to Christ for Christ. Through your prayers and mine, it is possible to alleviate this tribulation, but it's no longer possible to avert it, because it is only in this way that the church can be effectively renewed. How many times, indeed, has the renewal of the church been effected in blood? This time, again, it will not be otherwise. We must be strong. We must prepare ourselves. We must entrust ourselves to Christ and His Holy Mother, and we must be attentive, very, very attentive to the prayer of the Rosary. That is our prayer, and that's what we need to follow. So in closing, I just say that the many, many things that are happening in this world today, there's no need to be panicky about them. There is nothing happening that we cannot avoid by prayer and loyalty to the faith. God did not make it a mess. This mess is our fault, but His permissive will allows it. We must clean it up, and we do so by being faithful people, strong Catholics, and adherents to the message of Fatima. St. Augustine wrote that the city of God and the city of man will be in conflict until the end of time, but in the end, the city of God will triumph. I think we're going to triumph. We're going to see that triumph of the Immaculate Heart. I think when enough of us fulfill that first Saturday's devotion and stay loyal to the message of Fatima, we will see that triumph. Thank you.